Okay, you've seen it everywhere. That vibrant, almost glowing green drink that has completely taken over every cafe and probably your social media feed. Yep, we are talking about matcha. Today, we're going to dig in and find out what's really behind this whole phenomenon.
But seriously, why is it so popular all of a sudden? Is it just a really photogenic trend, or is there some actual science backing up all the hype? Well, let's get into it and find out what's really in your cup. All right, so to start, we really need to understand what matcha actually is. Sure, it comes from the same plant as the green tea you might be used to, but trust me, the way it's grown and prepared creates a completely different experience. Here is the single most important difference, and you gotta get this. With regular tea, you steep the leaves in water and then you throw them out. With matcha, those leaves are stone ground into an incredibly fine powder, and you're actually consuming the entire leaf. That means you're getting a super concentrated blast of everything that tea plant has to offer. Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. So many people are switching to matcha for energy, but they all describe the feeling as totally different from coffee. This brings us to what you could call the caffeine paradox. And if you just glance at the numbers, you can see matcha is no slouch in the caffeine department. Depending on how it's made, a single serving can pack just as much or sometimes even more caffeine than coffee. So, if the caffeine levels are basically the same, why does the buzz feel so different? And this pretty much explains the experience perfectly. We all know coffee, right? It gives you that fast, hard hit of energy, a spike that lasts a couple of hours, often comes with jitters, and then the dreaded crash. Matcha, on the other hand, is all about this smooth, sustained energy that can last for 6 to 8 hours. It creates a feeling people call calm alertness, and there's no crash. So what's the secret sauce here? How does it do that? Well, it all comes down to this one incredible amino acid that you pretty much only find in tea plants. And it's in super high concentrations in shade-grown matcha. It's called L-theanine. Think of L-theanine as caffeine's perfect partner. It works in 3 key ways. First, it boosts your alpha brainwaves, which are the same ones that are active when you're meditating, giving you that relaxed, in-the-zone feeling. Second, it increases something called GABA, which is basically the brain's brake pedal, calming down your nervous system and preventing those caffeine jitters. And third, it helps regulate mood-stabilizing chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. You put all that together, and that's the recipe for that signature calm alertness. But okay, beyond that unique buzz, matcha also has what you might call a health halo around it. It's packed with all these promises of wide-ranging benefits that have people swapping out their usual drinks left and right. And this idea is captured just perfectly by cardiologist Dr. Alok Chopra. He says, matcha is not just a vibe, it is science in a cup. And that science he's talking about points to a whole range of potential benefits. So what are the benefits people talk about most? Well, they're pretty compelling. We've already covered that calm focus. But proponents also talk about a boost in metabolism and fat burning, support for your body's detox processes, a general mood lift, and a massive, massive antioxidant payload. And when we're talking about antioxidants, there's one number that is just staggering. Matcha can contain up to 137 times the amount of EGC, a really powerful antioxidant, compared to your standard cup of green tea. 137 times. Again, that is the power of consuming the whole leaf. But let's be honest, the story of matcha isn't just about what's happening inside our bodies. It is a massive cultural phenomenon, which really raises the question, are people drinking it for wellness or for the aesthetic? For example, if you look at a place like urban India, there's a green revolution happening, as health-conscious millennials are trading their traditional chai for matcha. It's become a social media darling, a symbol that you're modern, you're global, you're focused on health. Drinking it has become a statement about who you are. So we have the hype, we have the cultural trend, and we have the science behind its key compounds. But what happens when you put all that to a really rigorous, long-term scientific test? Let's get a little reality check. A 2024 study in the journal PLOS1 did exactly that. For a full 12 months, researchers followed 99 older adults who were just beginning to experience some challenges with their memory and their thinking. And this was the real deal. It was a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. Now, that's just a fancy way of saying that neither the participants nor the researchers knew who was getting real matcha versus a fake placebo. This removes all the bias. It's the gold standard for finding out if something actually works. So, after a whole year, what were the results? Well, the findings were fascinating. The Matcha group showed a statistically significant improvement in what's called social acuity, basically their ability to read emotions in faces. They also saw a positive trend toward better sleep. But, and this is just as important, you have to look at what didn't change. There were no major improvements in their overall memory test scores or in their ability to handle daily activities. So let's bring it all together. When you combine the biochemistry, the cultural hype, and now the hard clinical data, what's the real story? Is matcha a superfood, a status symbol, or is it something in between? Well, the science that backs up that calm alertness feeling is solid. That synergy of L-theanine and caffeine is real. And that year-long study shows there are measurable benefits, especially for those specific social emotional brain functions, and potentially for sleep. But at the same time, you just can't ignore the cultural forces at play here. Its vibrant color, its association with wellness, all of that has made it an aspirational product. It's a lifestyle statement that says you're modern, you're healthy, and you're in the know. Ultimately, the matcha phenomenon is really a perfect storm. It's driven by two powerful forces: legitimate, unique effects on our brain chemistry and a perfectly timed cultural appeal. It's where science meets style. So the real question is, the next time you have a cup, which one are you drinking for?